One of the things I've been looking at in myself for my own situation when it comes to property, and also something I've been talking to numerous property investors about, is playing the forever game when it comes to borrowing. A lot of investors, as interest rates have risen, as they get deeper into the game of property, they actually end up getting stuck, right? They actually get into a position where borrowing becomes their limiter. It's not that they can't find great properties that they want to buy. It's not that they can't see opportunities or deals they want to go after. It's just that they cannot get access to the lending so they can make those things happening. So I'd love to kick this one off. Is this something you're commonly seeing as well?
So as interest rates go up, the buffers of the bank kick in more and more. And then all the other little tweaks that they're doing behind the scenes related to whether it's inflation and the household expenditure measures, any of the bands of income, caps of rental yields, and a whole range of other things. There's some things loosening, some things more tightening, but as we keep rising, that's getting more and more of an artwork to be able to continue people borrowing depending on their goals.
Yeah, wholeheartedly. So I do wonder this quite often where it is. What are the traps when it comes to thinking about borrowing through the lens of like building a portfolio? Because I've come across times when it's like, I know what to do to get finance for, let's say, the next property, but there's going to be implications from doing that where it's going to affect my ability to like buy the one after or set myself up to go on a bit of an accumulator run, which is what Grant's doing at the moment. So it's got to be quite strategic with what finance he takes on, and even, I suspect, the types of properties and assets he takes on as well.
There's a couple of things related to, is there any caps and is there anything like that, is where people come to me and they may have just, well, I won't say dabble, but there's probably a better word than dabble, but they've gone out and they've just bought a property and then they just buy another property, then they buy another property. And my first question is, what's your goal? Where are you going with this stuff? Do you have a plan? Grant's awesome. He's told me his plan, so I can plan the borrowing capacity out. But if you don't have a goal and you're just buying because of the sake of buying, it will trap you, because you might have saw the pretty house and it's got not the right rental yield for you. It's got not the right loan to value ratio on the other properties if you need equity to support it. It might suck all the cash out of your buffers and things. So you've got to really know what your goal is. When people come to us and we don't know what their goal is, we're going to be starting to investigate. What is your goal? Where are you going? How is the cash flow working? How can we make sure you have cash at the end of the purchase so that you can weather the storm of any more rate rises? So the trap is not being prepared.
Can I ask to go deeper on that? Of all the clients you work with, which I know you've got quite a variety now, how many of them come to you with talking past the property they're looking at the moment, right? How many of them say, look, in the next 12 months, I want to buy 3 properties. How can we set up borrowing to achieve that?
Yeah, so that's become more and more of a bigger push for us to make sure we're asking those questions. Do people come to us without us needing to prompt that question? Not totally. There's a few. There's a few like yourself and like Grant. You guys always come to us with a plan and we can map that out. A lot of people that go to the other sponsors of the podcast, the guys that go over to the Dashdot guys, they come to me with a plan. So that really helps. And then we are developing some strategies on lending with the clients that come to us directly, or they want to do their borrowing capacities first to map it out. The staff in my office are well versed in asking what's next after their next purchase. They might purchase their own place, they might purchase their next investment property or their first one, and we always continually ask what's next. And in preparation for that, we run a lot of models in the background for some of our borrowers, whether it's borrowing inside of superannuation, where they because we have a disclosure of assets and liabilities, so we're mining that data to help the client keep borrowing, through to how's their deposits going, can it stretch over, where are we going, do we need to do one big pre-approval or 2 smaller ones to be able to convert quickly when they find property. So do people come with a plan? Sometimes. Do they come with the openness and willingness to expand on their goals and brainstorm that? Absolutely. And then there's the people that come in who have purchased, say, our awesome off the plan stuff maybe 12 months ago, where they need to have a bit of a rescue and savior of the contract. I don't mind being a savior occasionally.
You're my savior. Don't worry about it, Aaron.
So you saved me too quite a few times. I like this setup we have here, Aaron. Keep doing what you're doing.
One of the traps, like obviously I'm accumulating as quick and as fast as I can. One of the traps that I am so tempted to jump into, Charlie, is like the extraction of equity on a whole heap of property to go just faster and faster and faster. And I can see so many people getting caught in this because it is the easiest way to grab cash and like extract it out to go and buy another property. But holy smokes, and Aaron, you can expand on it, does it trash the cash flow of the portfolio to go and support the increased in expense for the interest rates that you go and have? Do you see that happen often, Aaron, or is that just someone like me who's just like, how do I just buy more quicker? Or do you have a lot of those kind of rescues coming through?
Well, can I throw in one more as well? I want you to answer that one, but I want to throw a layer into this.
Okay.
You've got that one there that Grant's mentioned about grabbing equity. I'd love to know if collateralized loans play an issue within this as well. I want the spiciness.
I'm gonna say on this, I hope ain't no one cross-collateralizing.
I want to know if someone cross-collateralized loans with equity, and it's just like,
Whoa.
The horror stories are going to come out now. All right, go, Aaron. Go.
It's like we'll get a property from WA, South Australia, Northern Territory, Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, and Tasmania, and we'll get the super glue out and we'll glue it together to get one big borrowing capacity. So we'll get one big value across the whole country because they all grow at the same rates. The markets don't change in Australia. I don't know whether you heard that recently. And then we just go, that property portfolio, we got like $7 million worth of value. We can lend 80% of that. But we have all the properties stuck together.
Yeah.
We can only go to one lender. We've got one set of rules and policies. Or the other one, to bring it to more of a reality, because to be transparent, I hate cross-collateralization on residential properties. And if we can avoid it, we avoid it totally, hands down. But is people's fixed rates. We've got there's some really cool people out there that have got 2024, 2025, and they've got their fixed rate still at 199 or 219. But there's oodles of equity sitting in those properties. And the only way to access it is to go back to that bank's policies to try to access it. And what if you can't meet their rules? You've trapped your equity. So on one side of the coin, you're paying low rates, and on the other side of the coin, you're going, if I can just get that equity, I can get that next property, but then you're going to have a massive change in your interest rate early.
All right, hold up. I'm going to break these ones down because we're getting quite advanced here quite quickly. So for the people listening along at home who are going, all right, I want to understand these traps of where I'm getting stuck with borrowing. So point number one, if you're communicating with your broker, please let them know and develop a plan where you're explaining what you're actually trying to achieve. Yep. I think that's so imperative because there's so many times you can sting yourself if you're not thinking the next move ahead. Number two, avoid cross-collateralized loans like the plague. And I think cross-collateralized loans are when you would have one loan for, let's say, two separate properties, or in Aaron's case, he's mentioned 7 here. And the really big insight on that one is that if one of the assets within a cross-collateralized loan was to fall down in value, well, it could actually stop all your borrowing in this case here. It could be the thing that could hold you back from ever getting access to other lending because that one loan has to be with one bank and you've only got one opportunity there. So to go even further than that now, what was your next one there, Aaron? You really had a great point.
It's the trapped equity when you got a fixed rate. You want to maintain that fixed rate, but you can't manage to meet the borrowing capacity rules or policies of the bank that you've got that fixed rate with.
And can I pause you right there? Yeah. 1 second. Grant, did that sting you at all? Feeling any knife shots fired there?
I feel this. Did you see that Aaron just looked straight in my soul when he said that? And he was just like, hey, you know that property that you got? You can't touch anything. Or that equity? Yeah, no, thanks, Aaron.
I think people forget fixed rate also comes with other fixed rules, right?
They do. The cross-collateralization thing, just to give you a real example, is we've all seen on media and different things like that where people go to sell their owner-occupied house, where they have, let's say, mum, dad, investor, owner-occupied house. They buy an investment property. They go to the bank. So we're going to bash the banks up a bit here. The bank goes, cool, you can just buy that property, no cash in, no worry about it. We'll just there's nothing you need to do. And on the mortgage documents and things, you got both your properties. You got your owner occupied and your investor. So we fast forward down the line and you've got two different splits. So you can see what you currently owe on your owner occupied and you can see what you can owe on your investor. And then you go, cool, I'm going to put my house on the market. I'm going to upgrade. I'm having kids, whatever the personal situation is. And they put the house on the market, they sell their house and they end up with nothing. Mm-hmm. And what happens is that your property, let's go worst case, that investment property is sitting in a mining town and the mine's shut. Now you've gone into negative equity. So if you've gone into negative equity on one property or you owe more than what it's worth, when you sell your other cross property, you have to rebalance the lending. Mm. So when you rebalance the lending, that's where you get stuck. And that's where we see people on the media or they unpack that story and they don't know how they've got into it and all that stuff. And that's where, to avoid that, get the transparency on what's going on. Like obviously avoiding crossing like the plague, but if you are going to enter into it, make sure you've got eyes wide open.
No, I'm stepping in. Don't do it. Run away. Just don't do it at all.
Yeah.
Is it reasonable to say that if you have to cross-collateralize loans, maybe you shouldn't be taking the loan?
It's like,
possibly.
If you smell smoke, there's fire, Charlie.
But that's where the structure comes in. You can actually leave them uncrossed, go after the equity for deposits and costs from your current place and have it strategically line itemed out so you know what it is.
Great.
And then you
segue.
go for the loan on the property because it's eligible for its own loan. So yeah, maybe I did segue, but that's the key answer there is that you want to know what your equity has done to purchase the next property because you want to come back and reverse it. And as you pay it down, you want to then deleverage and split out your assets so you have more control. And the only control you want the bank to have is on you repaying the debt.
All right, fellow property investor, if you loved the value from this short video and wanted to know more about how you can win at property investing, check out the full episode by clicking the link on your screen or in the description right now. Alternatively, click subscribe and you'll never miss another one of these videos.